Hey everyone, how we doing? Let's just bring up the chat. Let's see who's on this week's Tuesday tune-in. I am going to hide the hair very, very shortly because we don't want, this isn't Halloween. We don't want to scare anyone yet.
I think it looks good.
Yeah?
It's like how I imagine Bilbo looked when he came back from his adventure.
Wow.
And they were like, "Whoa, Bilbo, where have you been?"
I do want to check if we're live because
we're not getting anyone messaging.
not getting any messaging just yet.
Any second.
It's not like us being. I just like to know that
we are live.
On. I just like to check.
Angus Ross is here. Matt Oliver's here.
Brilliant. Here we go. Matt Oliver, fantastic. How are you doing? Afternoon, everyone. I hope all is well.
Heather Newman.
Heather, how you doing, mate? Dan, great stuff. We get some of the Evertrek veterans on here. Who else we got then? If you have joined us, do let us know. Always good to see who's on the live. Yeah. I know some people like to sit behind the scenes. Some people like to drop in and be actively engaged in the comments. Hey, Kate, how you doing? Mike, great stuff. Well, look, obviously, a lot of you have heard about what happened to Morocco over the weekend, which very, very, very powerful stuff. Very difficult time for them, and we thought, what better time to talk about Morocco? Because I think, and there's always a balance, isn't it, between kind of not promoting something after something that happens, but actually it's important, and tourism's important to Morocco.
Yeah,
they rely a lot on it, and I think it's an opportunity for us to talk about Morocco. Obviously, we're going to be chatting about some of the donations, some updates as well, some big updates, which is going to be fantastic. But we thought, let's talk about Morocco because, we need to support this country after things kind of settle down. It happened with similar thing back in 2015. And one of the reasons I went out to Nepal after the 2015 earthquake was for that exact reason. Countries need tourism. So we thought, let's talk about that today. Yeah. And, because Morocco is on our mind. And, we want to, discuss it and also talk about the trips as well. We're not, we always like to bring a little bit of the trip stuff. So we'll talk about the 4-day and the 8-day trip.
Yeah.
So any questions around Toubkal and Morocco, drop them in because we're going to discuss it all about Morocco today.
Yeah, 100%. And first of all, thanks to everyone that's messaged in. Many of you that have already done Mount Toubkal were concerned about your guide and their family. Yeah. We've been in touch with our head of operations over there, Jamal, who is actually also president of the region of Azni, which is very near Imlil. And he's reported that all of our team, all of our guides, porters, their families are all safe. Aside for some property damage and things like that, they've had a lucky escape. So very thankful for that.
Very thankful.
And one of the things, he was very keen to do is just thank the Evertrek community and the support for continuing to go to Morocco and provide work and jobs for the local communities there, because that is the one thing that, there is that balance of sort of sensitivity. Yeah. You don't want to sort of promote off the back of something horrible. So we're very conscious that we don't want to kind of use the earthquake as a sort of springboard to market. Yeah. But at the same time, we know that what's best for our teams out there that we have a great affection for is that they need jobs, the money they earn from tourism and, trips like what we do directly goes into their pockets. It helps them rebuild their homes, buy food, replace anything that they need to replace and get back on their feet.
Yeah, exactly. Couldn't have put it any better myself. And hey, Pratesh, nice words as well. Beautiful country, wonderful people.
Yeah.
My winter sunhood, I reckon sun holiday at destination I plan to go this December. Hope you do. Definitely. Because I know we've reached out to people like Kate as well, who's on our Souks to Summit trip. I believe, who else is on the Souks? I think it's Jerry as well, isn't it? Of course.
Jezza.
We got a really good group there, and we're still going to go. We've been in touch with Jamal and the team over there in terms of, is it safe to go? Obviously we don't want to go anywhere that isn't. But ultimately, a lot of the countries that we operate in have elements of danger in all manner of things. So, but it is, in a couple of weeks, it will be ready to go. I think it's very, very lucky, really, that actually Imlil itself was relatively unscathed.
Yeah.
Especially kind of the accommodation that we use and the trails and things. I think it's absolutely mad. I mean, there's always going to be, some impact. And the region itself, there's obviously over 70 villages there, Imlil being one of them. But over 70 villages have been impacted in that region, which is why obviously we've been doing the donations and raising money, because it does impact the region, and it does impact inadvertently that area. And all the money that we've raised will be going towards tents, sleeping bags, and also food. And I suppose we may as well start with the big one, because over the last kind of 48 hours or so, I mean, ever since it happened, really, we kind of jumped into action. We set up a little GoFundMe page, which, thanks to everyone that's donated. But since then, we've been in touch with Jamal. He's put in touch as well with a gentleman called Chris Hall, who's a captain and a pilot for Virgin Airways. So it's great. And he's massive on the charity side of things. He's done a lot of kind of critical stuff when it comes to, things like that happen like this, disasters. So he's been involved in a lot of things before. So it's good to kind of pick his brains around that. Another big one is that he's actually in touch with the Branson Foundation and Richard Branson himself. So he literally texted me this morning, and we spoke this morning. And now actually Richard himself is actually flying over to meet Jamal in the next 24 hours, which is amazing. So Richard Branson is going to be bringing a lot of money to that area. Yeah. Because he's got a close affinity with Imlil in that region. So that's fantastic. It does mean that in the next, and what he's also planned to do is actually have a plane, not talking one of the giant jumbo ones, but another plane to transport goods over. So you may have recalled, and I know we've shared the link there. I will bring up the link as well in, where are we? If we go to, I'll bring it up at the bottom here, just so we can, there we go. So there's the actual link for coming across the screen there. That's the GoFundMe page link if you wanted to donate. Anyway, so the Branson Foundation have essentially, Richard has allowed us to bring all the tents and sleeping bags that we're going to be purchasing over the next 72 hours to an airfield. We're waiting for that exact location to then take that to Morocco, because it's quite an urgent thing. A lot of people without anywhere to live. It's quite cold. So we want to get this over to Morocco as soon as we can. So, that's what we're going to do. So any donations, I know we've asked a lot already. We're putting some in as well, as well as Chris Hall. We're going to be buying some tents and sleeping bags to actually take with us and take over to Morocco. That's kind of where we're at. So all donations, like, absolutely amazing. Yeah. And also pretty cool, getting the Branson family involved. Especially Richard himself, is pretty powerful. I'm sure that will impact the region in a positive way, which is nuts.
He's got a hotel right near
so Casper, isn't it?
Yeah, so he's been in that community and for a long time. Yeah, and I know he tweeted and stuff like that immediately afterwards. So it's very good to see someone with obviously such money and connections, kind of like taking an interest in doing, and then if we all pull that together, imagine we could. We could make a massive difference for them over there.
Well, we're making a list currently, and we're trying to source. Reached out to a lot of our suppliers. Water to Go have been very generous. They've offered some water bottles that we're going to be taking over there as well. We're going to be putting on the plane and sending those over. So Water to Go, big shout out to them. Yeah. And Dave Shanks as well, who obviously is who started the business. So absolutely big. Awesome for him. We've also been in touch with Craig from Cliff, so who's also going to be getting some food and stuff that we can take over as well. So we're reaching out to all of our partners. We have reached out to some of our others. Waiting for. Obviously, we're trying to move as quick as we can. So we've been in touch with not much pressure on them, but it doesn't hurt. Decathlon, Cotswold Outdoor, but we're trying to get in touch with them if we can get any more sleeping bags and tents. Yeah. We're trying to get as many as we can, really. So obviously, they want big living areas, but anywhere they can sleep would be ideal.
Awesome.
But anyway, we want to start off with that kind of stuff around the earthquake, and obviously we got the links there. But we want to talk about the country now and how good it is, and amazing as well with regards to the types of trips that we're able to run, and the high Atlas Mountains, which I suppose, do you want to start with the Weekender?
Yeah,
I suppose that's where we start.
So that's probably the single most.
It's popular, isn't it?
Popular one on there, but actually the Weekender is a bit of a dark horse in our sort of roster, really, because there's no real way to understand what the 4-dayer is actually going to be like until you've done a trip that's kind of that intense, because you look at the altitude and you think, that's not too bad. I've been close to that skiing. And then you look at the time you're trekking and you're thinking, well, it's only a couple of days. And I know I can do a couple of days. So I think I'm pretty good.
Yeah.
And then when you go out there and you actually do that 4-day trek, you end up back in Imlil like, come on. I just, it is amazing. It was the first one that we ever did was on that schedule.
Yeah. And physiologically, physically, it's definitely a toughie.
Yeah.
Altitude wise, you're still going over 4,000 meters, 4,167 meters. It's, anytime you're going above 2,500, really, you'll feel it. Even if you kind of jog up the stairs or you go to tie your laces or you bend down because of the lack of oxygen. You definitely feel a little bit lightheaded. Yeah. So you don't want to take the altitude for granted, but you're not at that altitude for a considerable amount of time. The refuge, is about 3,200 meters. That's where you'll be staying. You'll be spending the night before going to the summit the following morning. So you're not that high for that long because you're back down and quite quickly.
It doesn't feel that high for me, the refuge either. It's strange because it's by 250 meters. It's all that separates it from Namche Bazaar. But when you're in Namche Bazaar in Nepal, you have this sense of like I'm high. In the
you
mountains,
do, don't you? Yeah.
So for some reason, when I get to the refuge, I'm like, sorry, it's like sea level, isn't it? But that's the bit of the dark horse because then when you do go up to the summit, I noticed the biggest difference for me. I didn't, because you're not there that long. I didn't feel the altitude like you do on a longer trip, where you start to notice things changing. The biggest thing for me was just the heart rate on the way up to the summit. That was, I'd be totally fine sat here chatting with you like we are now. Yeah. And then we go, okay, right, guys, push on, guys. And then if I went off too quick, my heart rate would be going crazy because you're at 4,000 meters. And I noticed that when I did it, that was the biggest, that was the second time I did it. The first time I didn't actually get to 4,000 meters.
But you got there in the end.
I got there in the end.
You got down safely.
I think, what do you reckon I quit at? 3.8, something like that.
You didn't quit. You made the decision that it was best for your body. That's not quitting. That's deciding to make a choice.
That's not. I'm
reframing it differently now, right?
So that's not quitting. That is. I just took a different route.
Yeah, you just took a different route for your health that eventually led you to the summit.
Hey, and you know what?
At the end of the year,
I'm glad. I'm glad I went back. Yeah. Because I realized that it was harder for me to get to whatever I got to 3.8 than it was to actually reach the summit. Yeah. So although I didn't make the top, I feel like I worked hard to get where I got.
Well, you did. I mean, again, with the 4-day route, you've got the hike up from Imlil up to through Shamarouche, or you've got the Arumd, which is a little village there pretty much on the side of a mountain, and then you've got about 5-6 hour hike then to the refuge, and it can be tough because it's quite a warm day. Yeah. As you get higher, obviously it does get cooler, especially if there's wind around. It can be quite cold, but generally, especially if you're hiking in the summer, if you're hiking in, any time from November through to May, got the chance of some snow. So as you get closer to the refuge, you might hit the snow line. I know the first time we went there, we hit the snow line about 300 meters before, in terms of elevation now, before the refuge. And then obviously it's time to don the crampons and the ice axe. Some people don't because the lay of the land, but there are a couple of areas, and the guides do carry these, by the way. When you arrive, you have a bit of a briefing. If you haven't got crampons or ice axe, you can use the ones available there. Yeah. And these are, at this point, you don't really need kind of, B2, B3s because they're kind of they're crampons essentially that go over
the C1 crampon.
C1, aren't they? They're nice and easy to go over anything. Really.
It's just got the cage at the front and the cage at the back, rather than the actual lever system and the welk on the boot. But it was interesting going back the second time actually, because that snow line wasn't.
I suppose there was nothing there.
There was no snow. There was ice, pretty much 100 feet from the refuge. Yeah, like the path was like iced, and there was snow on the mountain. But it was strange to get to this point where I thought to myself, I know around this corner now, I'm going to see that bend that goes around like that, and it's going to be covered in snow. Yeah, when I got there, I was like, oh, it's fine. It was just rocky.
Just reading some comments here, and I think Mark Drummond. Hey, Mark, how you doing? A British guide I had in Nepal who climbed Everest, and the Camp Cook was unfortunately killed in the avalanche 2015. Yeah, I know it was a really bad one, wasn't it? He got together a group of guys. out taking cash, give directly to the family. Yeah, it's a lovely thing to do.
Yeah.
I know anyone that's impacted, you always want to try and help as much as you can, right? And I'm always of the kind of opinion, it's a personal thing, but doing something is better than doing nothing,
Yeah, no.
And even because that small thing might mean a big thing to someone else. So honestly, anything like that at all. And this is why we're talking about Morocco, even trying to make just small things. We might only be able to give like 30, 40 tents, but then that's 30, 40 people that don't have to sleep outdoors.
Potentially 30, 40 families,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that we can potentially help. And I know in the grand scheme of things, there's obviously thousands of people that are, impacted. But even if you can help a little bit, you're helping.
Yeah.
It's like that there. Speed doesn't matter. Forward is forward. And I think, sorry, we got a nice little poster over here, which
I'll be honest, I've always thought it's an odd poster.
It is an odd one. Because it's Popeye
it's
in
Popeye
a racing car.
In a racing car. And I don't think he ever said that.
No, he doesn't.
So
I just like
there's a collection of things happening there that are a bit strange.
Well, I got these weird things around. I got one here that says "Never give up. Great things take time."
There's a ticket on the wall.
What does it say?
One
Dave?
life, limit one per person, make it count.
These are key things. I think especially that one up there. You do have one life. Got to make most of it. That's essentially what it means.
Popeye, so I've always thought
that is a weird one.
Because when you brought it in and you went, "Look at this, Dave," I was like, wow,
if you just read the writing, forward is forward.
I know you like the message.
I like the message.
And the picture was like, well, it has to be on a picture.
Because I know when we're talking about what things mean to you, it's all personal, and we bring the meaning to things, to words, to images, to what we view. Things like Morocco, what it means to us. And sometimes little words like that, though, they can help.
Yeah.
Especially in difficult circumstances. That's when it comes to whatever we can do, even if it's a small thing, it's still a step forward in the right direction,
100%.
But yeah, going back to the trip then. So we've done that hike. It's about 1,300 meter of elevation, isn't it, from Imlil up to the refuge?
Yeah.
So if you put that into context, Ben Nevis, 1,300 meters above sea level. So you can kind of think, obviously, it's not as much of a slog as it is. It's kind of on
it's
paths.
Quite gradual, isn't it?
Quite gradual.
There are some steepies.
Definitely some steep steps.
When you go via the I can never
pronounce
the
Chamarrouche.
Chamarrouche,
yeah.
Sidi Chamarrouche, is it?
Sidi Chamarrouche.
Yeah, so you go down to the shrine, and then from there, there's like quite a steep up. But I don't know whether this is one of those like type 2 enjoyment things, but when I look back at it, it doesn't seem that hard.
Which is interesting, isn't it? Because you climb Ben Nevis, it feels like a bit of a slog.
I'm never doing Ben Nevis again. I not to slag off Ben Nevis, but if you're going to go to Scotland, I think there's so many better mountains you can climb.
Well, Scotland's an amazing place.
CMD route, was amazing.
Okay.
But I went up the CMD and down the what they call the tourist route.
Yeah.
And it's just so long, man, and just went on. I was like, this is like a conveyor belt.
But yeah, so that route itself, 1,300 meters, may appear hard. It's not too bad. Slow and steady. Anytime you're altitude, just take your time. And then when you reach the refuge, and I don't know who's saying this because there's
Let's Talk One-to-One Talking Therapy.
I know, yeah, it normally has names. So yeah, whoever's putting that the refuge was an interesting experience, especially the giant bunk beds.
Yeah,
you're true. Actually, it's like jumping into like a kind of giant's house, and then next thing you know, you've got this giant bunk beds.
It's one of the how fussy I am with like seating and bedding and stuff like that.
I didn't know you were fussy about it.
Yeah, but like when I get there, one of the reasons why I think I need to push on and get to that refuge before everyone else does, is so I can get one next to the wall.
That's true. You do like a little bit of a wall.
I like a wall,
even over there.
I don't know why, but if I was sleeping like in the middle and I had loads of people on either side, it would just it'd stress me out. Well, you don't care. You'd sleep on the floor.
Yeah, well,
but like me, I like to be in the corner.
Safety, that's what it is.
I don't know what it is. Yeah, it's just something about the corner and a bottom bunk.
Oh, there we go. It's Lorraine. Hey, Lorraine, how you doing?
Hey, Lorraine.
So all good. Obviously, I know at Facebook and depending on who's watching. But anyway, nice to meet you. Definitely. I hope you're enjoying. Is this your first Tuesday tune in? If it is, welcome.
I'm sure I've seen Lorraine before.
I'm sure. I've put the name, the actual word in there is probably just putting me off.
The little picture rings a bell as well.
I'm sure we recognise you, Lorraine.
I like Lorraine's picture there. If we're studying Lorraine for a second, it looks. I'm looking at you in a tiny little centimetre wide picture, and it looks like you've got devil horns. And I respect
Wow.
it. I respect it. Talking about the refuge, one thing that
Yes.
it is absolutely essential is earplugs.
Especially with this guy.
Hey, wasn't me.
Actually, it was probably me.
Well, I
Because
think
we both snored, didn't we?
everybody does.
Yeah.
Especially at altitude in that dusty environment, every single person up there will snore, and it is essential.
Or
Earplugs
cough.
for a good night's sleep. Yeah,
Yeah.
it has to happen.
Yeah.
Has to happen.
Exactly. Namaste, Alan. I hope all is well, mate. A long time no see. Yeah, we're talking about Morocco. Yeah, and so we're at the refuge now. Refuge is always and can be warm. So actually, a lot of parts of the year, especially during the summer months, we're actually camp instead. So it's got like quite a flat area just outside, and we'll actually camp just outside the refuge. You'll still eat in the refuge, hang out in the refuge, but it's just more comfortable because it can get warm, the refuge.
Yeah.
Just where it is, and the walls of it are so thick and it's quite dense.
There's very little light around the refuge as well. What's strange is even in the day, you kind of have to use your head torch
inside
when you're inside. And I always have this thing when you come in from outside. It's so dark in there, I can hardly see anything. And then when I walk outside, it's like it hurts my eyes.
Yeah.
But I love the refuge though, because it kind of reminds me of like a medieval castle.
It does from afar, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It could be in like Conan the Barbarian.
Conan the Barbarian.
Well, that didn't come out right at all.
Yeah. No, you're
Conan
right.
the Barbarian.
Like if any of you haven't seen it yet, if you Google Tupkal Refuge, it's amazing. It's just in this like rugged landscape. There's just this big brick kind of building. It kind of reminds, every time I see it, I'm like, kind of reminds me of some sort of like ancient castle or something.
I'm not going to say it now because I'll probably say it like multiple times.
What's that?
The Barbarian.
Oh,
Conan
you want to correct it, don't you?
I want to correct
risk.
it, but it's all good. It's all good. Yeah, good work, guys. Hike Tupkal in the spring. Hey, Jay's May. Heartbroken by the events. The refuge was the most surreal experience. Yeah, it's a cool place, isn't it?
Yeah.
And then obviously, once we're at the refuge, we want to take on the summit. That's why we're there. We want to climb the summit. And it is again a bit of a slog because you're going from 3,200 to almost 4,002. It does take about 4 or 5 hours. First hour or so in the dark, generally, depending on weather, because it can be quite windy up there. And then as you kind of go through almost this valley before you reach the kind of summit ridge, it is quite tough. But bit of a slog. Once you're on the summit ridge, pretty much there. Obviously, do be careful at the top, depending on whether it's snow, ice, or it's just like the kind of rock that's up there. Do watch yourself, but absolutely fantastic views because you can see all the way down to the Sahara Desert on one side, and on the other side, you've just got like the Atlas Mountains just spread out in front of you.
Yeah.
It's pretty epic, isn't it?
Yeah, it's amazing. I was very lucky when I got there because it was very cold and it was hard to get it. It felt very cloudy and there was lots of snow coming up and stuff. So I didn't have any hope really that when I got to the summit, I'd be able to see anything. I thought it'd be a whiteout, but actually when you got to the top, it was really strange and surreal because the wind was blasting us all the way up. And then for some reason on the summit, it's like
was it calm?
You could hear a pin drop on the summit.
Wow.
And then as soon as you dropped down off the summit again, you picked up the wind.
It's probably the funnel through the valley.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking it was. But it was a really surreal experience. And I do remember sitting down on one of the rocks on the summit, just taking it in and having something to eat. And it was so cold that my butt went numb. And when I stood up, I couldn't feel my trousers. So I had this like slight panic that my trousers had like fallen down or something like that. It was really cold.
Yeah, and Tupkal, prepare for all 4 seasons because anytime you go, even in the summer, can be tough up top. I know Rosie, she was testing out. She recently did Tupkal earlier in the year and tested out some of equipment from Vulcan. Don't know if you've heard of them. I'm not talking about Star Trekking now, different type of trekking. But yeah, Vulcan sportswear, essentially, they have these kind of a lot of different equipment, but the ones she tested were like gloves, like base layer and socks. Yeah. And they have this kind of electrical membrane that goes through it that you can literally heat it up. So if you're someone that struggles with kind of cold hands, cold feet a lot, maybe you've got like Raynaud's, anything like that, this equipment works really well. So she was out there trying them. That would be perfect, that a piece of equipment on, say, a winter ascent where it can be really cold. I mean, geez, you went in December. And I remember you guys coming back saying that was one of the coldest that you'd felt ever on a mountain.
Yeah, no, I don't think I've ever been colder on a mountain
because of the wind, right?
It was the wind, yeah. Well, there was winter conditions in December. It wasn't as full winter as when we went earlier in the year. It was icy and rocky and then snowy, so having to stop a lot and take crampons on, off, on, off. Yeah. But one of the things was I remember setting off with just a base layer and a like a gilet on, and I thought this will be fine. And then at one point the wind started and it got stronger and stronger and stronger. And we didn't know that that was the beginning of a bit of a storm.
Yeah.
The next day, when we were leaving to go back to Imlil, we saw crowds coming down off the mountain.
Yeah.
And our guide Mohammed said, not every guide has turned back. It's too windy.
Yeah, it's
and
crazy,
so we were very lucky that the day later, but yeah, it was the wind chill that was the worst thing, because it was like minus 20, but then you've got the wind and it just made it really hard. Like putting your crampons on was difficult, like pulling the cords. Those heated gloves would have been amazing.
I mean, there are times, like I remember being on Killy and a lot of people were cold on the summit night. I think that was in the February time. And yeah, anytime in the mountain, there's opportunities where it can be very challenging, like that, especially with the wind. So you kind of got to think about that. If you're thinking about going to Toubkal weekender, I know it only seems like a short time. I know it only seems like, because Morocco is warmer, but you got to take it seriously when you're on the mountain.
Yeah.
Obviously we're talking about Morocco today, promoting it, getting people back out there as soon when it's safe to do so. And yeah, the weekender is absolutely fantastic. Really good. If you're thinking of like work and taking time off, you could potentially do it with just 2 days annual leave, which is, it's not bad.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you can just get there, bag a summit, get back. JS May has said the scree on the descent was ruthless, fell on my backside around 9 times.
God, you're not the only one, mate. It's slippery, isn't it?
It was like Marble Alley.
Was it Zach that you looked back and he was like the wrong way around?
Well, that was hilarious. Well, we all fell.
Yeah.
Like I fell, I think twice, but Zach's fall was the best because we were half an hour from the refuge.
Wow, so you almost made it back.
And I heard this like
on the way from the summit, right?
Yeah. And then I turned around and I saw a rock kind of rolling over his leg, and he was upside down, like facing me. Wow. I was like, how did that even happen? And he was like attacked by a rock. I was like,
you got to be careful on these places.
Not this close to the refuge. I was like, we're this close. We just got to hold it together. But very slippery.
We'll move on to the 8-day in a sec. Mark asked a really good question. Mark Walker, hey guys, going Island Peak in 2 weeks. Wow, mate, not long at all. Struggling to get and buy altitude sickness tablets, so Diamox. Poor stock levels everywhere. Any ideas where to get it from? So, yeah, a couple of things for me. I think, if you can get any, Nomad health clinics tend to keep good stock. They are hard to get on prescription. You might be able to buy them in Nepal. And to be honest, it depends on the reasons for taking them. Mark, have you been to altitude before in terms of, how you felt? How did you deal with it? Just because a lot of people don't take Diamox and are fine. As long as you acclimatize, as long as you drink enough water, you go slow. Although you're going just over 6,000 meters, if you acclimatize properly, you won't really need Diamox. And if you do, our guides do carry anyway. Yeah. So as a reactive thing. So if you're struggling with it, they'll give it to you instead of taking it from the outset. I know there's a lot of guidance, a lot of different articles and a lot of different opinions on trips, but just knowing, all of our Evertrekkers, have come with us and how it works best.
Yeah.
That is our, kind of recommendation to use it in that way. But obviously completely up to you, of course, if you want to take it. As long as your guide knows and we know kind of, that you're taking it, we'll know how to help you if you're struggling with altitude. But yeah Mark, I'm just struggling. Think of any other place that you could get
in Nepal definitely sell it.
They do, don't they?
And pretty much in the tea houses, all around the tea houses, there are loads of these little shops, particularly in Namche and Dingboche. They all sell it. Obviously, you're not buying it. I don't know where they get their supply from.
Yeah.
I've been told it's legitimate, but it's a date issue might be something. Yeah. But if you've tried Nomad and they've said no, then I would keep trying and also ring around different clinics. And hopefully they should be able to
Yeah.
find some stock for you.
Ah, there we go, Mark. Yeah, okay, cool. Just as a precaution. Yeah, exactly. Honestly, it's good to have these things, right? You know, if you can get them, great. Like personally, not used a lot of Diamox of altitude. Like once, I think I took a half tablet, but I know a lot of like literally hundreds of Evertrekkers that have, but literally thousands of Evertrekkers that haven't. So yeah, you know, always good to have if you've got it. But if anything does happen, mate, our guys have got it as well. Hopefully you'll be fine. You won't need to, which is great, right? Yeah, but hopefully, you know, I can't wait to see the summit picture on Island Peak. It's yeah, I bet you're excited now in the build up. 2 weeks.
Yeah,
God, I bet it's come around quick, eh?
I'd love to be going.
I know. Well, we're out in November.
Well,
right?
in November, yeah, but just it's like when trips start going.
I know,
always think
it gets exciting.
I want to go. I want to go.
I know Pritesh there was asking about the Tubcal weekender trip. I have put the link there. That's to the 4-day weekender trip that we do on the Roof of the North, as we like to call it, in the Atlas Mountains. Yeah, absolutely epic. Yeah. Right, I want to kind of switch gears then and talk about the 8-day.
Yeah, 8-day is
obviously a bit longer.
Yeah, it's twice as long.
Twice.
but what's amazing about the 8-day is that a lot of the time when I first speak to customers and they want to do Tubcal,
yeah.
But they're thinking of doing the 4-day because they're not sure if they're going to be fit enough to do the 8-day. It's really strange. It's one of the only trips like that actually the converse is true, that the 8-day is actually easier to complete than the 4-day. And the reason being is because each day demands a little less of you than the ones on the 4-day. So it is far more gradual. But I think the big difference, and the thing that will excite most people, is that you get to climb a second peak as well, which the name of it is
It is. It's quite hard.
That's why I did it. That's
because it's quite hard to say.
I forgot.
It's called Mount
Unukrim.
Unukrim, I think. It's really hard. It's really hard to say. Tubcal's a bit easier to say.
That's why I thought I would.
I'm usually pretty good with those words, but yeah, it is exactly an opportunity to climb another peak, which is awesome.
Yeah, and on that one as well, there's plane wreckage.
Yeah, which is what's it? Is it a vampire?
No, that's in Brecon.
That's is another one, isn't it?
Yeah, only because we saw the vampire recently.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly what plane it is, but yeah, it's the wreckage day, and it's an optional summit day. So those people that want to go up and tackle it the day after Tubcal can. Those people that don't feel like they've got the energy to deploy can chill at the refuge for a few hours, and then carry on. But
just to say as well, we've had another donation. Just looking, it's up to 2,400 now. Awesome, Annie Lewis. Annie, if that's from you on the live, sorry, I just checked.
Thank you, Annie.
Obviously, if any donations do come on, you will get during the live. I'll give you a shout out.
Yeah,
thank you so much as well. Yeah, we want to get so we put our initial target as 2,000. We want to get to about 4 now.
Yeah.
So 2,400, and we've got So Annie Lewis, thank you so much for your donation. Anyone else? The link is at the bottom of the page.
Yeah. So shout outs. We are selling shout outs to help Morocco. So the more you donate, the more I'll say your name.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah.
And you know how lucky you are. Some people get nicknames and some people don't.
Okay.
If they donate, I'll give them a nickname.
A nickname.
So
then new Yeti name. Huh?
Yeah, well, because I started at the beginning of the Tuesday tune-in when we had when it was just basically Marky V and Jerome and Bri.
Yeah.
Bri kind of got his own nickname among a lot of other things that I think people refer to him as. Jerome's rock
hydrated Yeti.
Yeah, and Marky V.
Marky V, I think he's legged it now. He said he couldn't. He came on briefly and legged it. I think he dipped his toe and then off he went. But I know he's a busy man.
Yeah.
He kind of works in the travel industry himself. So he's off. He's off on his travels. But anyway, it's always good to see Evertrekkers around the world. I know we've got a lot of Evertrekkers this week in Peru, which is awesome, on the way to Machu Picchu via different routes. So it's always really exciting. But yeah, the 8-day. So as Dave said, obviously it's longer. It is technically easier, even though you're doing 2 peaks, and you do get a bit more time in Marrakesh as well. Yeah. So, excuse me, it does give you a bit more of an opportunity if you've got a little bit more time to have just over a week of spending that time in Morocco.
Yeah.
There are sometimes on the rare occasion, because a lot of our itineraries are quite fixed. Like, there is a particular way to get to Tubcal. In winter, sometimes it can be so bad that we have to kind of go a different way.
Yeah.
There is another route that does go to Tubcal, but it drops down into refuge instead of going up the kind of the route that we would follow on the 4-day. Just something to be aware of. But essentially, you've still got the same amount of trekking days in the mountain. You're still going to take on Tubcal. still going to stay at the refuge. It's just a slightly different route.
Yeah.
You know, and a lot of people say actually they prefer, but it's not the quickest way to get there. This is why on the weekender we go the other way.
Yeah, well, to be honest, it can a lot of our trips do that, don't they? So
Yeah.
you know, we can change
Exactly.
the itinerary. The itinerary that we sell on the website is what we aim to do and what we achieve almost 100% of the time.
Yeah.
But sometimes, you know, the mountains have a mind of their own, don't they? You know, and for whatever reason, they might decide, nah, not today.
They do. Just
Yeah.
checking the donations. None yet. Okay, we'll keep it coming.
We'll keep it coming.
So I've got £2,400. That's not bad. It's I know we can get a little bit more.
So what if
Yes.
I love this is a question I kind of whenever we have a trip in depth dive, I always ask you.
Yeah.
So what? And you're not allowed to say the summit.
Okay. Yeah.
Highlight for your Morocco trip.
Oof. Good question. I think firstly, when you arrive in Morocco, you know, as the crow flies, it's not that far really from like mainland Europe. Yet culturally, it's a million miles away. So part of going there, I think, is I really like the kind of cultural side of it, especially when you go to Marrakesh.
Yeah.
And you know, especially in the Atlas Mountains, and you've got the Berber villages. I think the culture there is amazing. But like anything, I personally love the group stuff. You know, I love meeting new people. I love meeting the guides, getting to know the guides and their families. And, you know, I know you've had pleasure of, I think, Mohammed, and go and see his family and eat with his family.
Best pancakes I've ever had in Morocco.
Yeah, took you to his home. And you know, sometimes we do that. You know, it's quite nice because we have close affiliations and, you know, we like to look after our team over there. So whoever your guide, it's nice to know them personally. But yeah, I do like the group stuff.
Yeah.
Just getting to know people, seeing how they take the challenge on, like, you know, going with people who have struggled and then come through at the other side. I love that. I love seeing the kind of look on people's faces as they get to the summit. You know, when they get back down or when they're so tired, they literally like, slump. They pick up a cup of mint tea at the end. And it's that look of almost being satisfied with what they've done.
Awesome.
Like they've been on a journey.
Yeah.
What about you then? In terms of your moments.
So I'm not going to pick anything group related because I couldn't add to what.
Sorry, I know.
I couldn't add. I couldn't add to what you said there. That was that is probably one of the best sides. And I've banned summit talk. So I think the weird and wonderful things you can find in the souks.
I had a feeling you'd say that.
Because
you found a couple of weird ones.
Like for me, one of my favorite things about going to these countries that I've been to is having a day where I'm going to go souvenir hunting, but like with a difference.
Yeah.
So the souvenirs that I look for is stuff that Andrew Howarth.
Andrew Howarth, there we go. Just donated. Thank you very much, Andrew.
Yeah.
Or absolutely fantastic seeing these come in. So Annie and then Andrew 2 minutes ago. Thank you so much, mate.
Yeah. Awesome. I got to think of a nickname for him. But yeah, like, because I love finding all the strange and weird and wonderful items that you didn't expect to see. Because when you go to Morocco, I expected to see like loads of the like tagines. I expected to see like the awesome lights that they have, those lamps and stuff like that.
They're really pretty, aren't they?
Carpets and all that sort of beautiful Moroccan decor.
Yeah.
And then I come across something which is just like, what on earth is that? And I got to get it. Like my favorite thing in Morocco in the souks is that there's this guy who paints these tin little pictures that you hang on your wall. They're just made of tin. And they basically just depict different occupations, like a dentist or something. But the pictures,
they're quite brutal.
Are like nothing I've ever seen before.
Yes.
So whenever I go there, I have to go and find this guy's shop and buy some of them.
I think Anuj actually was out there last week, found the same shop.
Yeah,
I was like, he's found the one day.
Yeah, he that's my guy. He recognized me though.
Really?
When I
went back?
When I went back the second time,
nice.
And I went back and he recognized me. Maybe I'm easy to spot because of the markings.
So you're memorable.
Yeah.
Great stuff. No, I think you are right though with the souks, and the really good news is actually over the last couple of days is that literally within 24 hours of the earthquake, the souks were back open. I think it, for me, it goes to show that one, they obviously need to trade because they need, survive money. And they're just resilient people.
Yeah.
They're, we've seen this a lot of different countries. I was really kind of like proud really about Nepal and how they came back after the earthquake. several years ago, and the same with Morocco, like immediately. So the souks are actually open again now.
Yeah.
Which is nuts, really.
Well, that's it. That's what, like, one of the things that we've heard a few times is that the last thing that a country like Morocco needs after something like this is a void of tourists.
Yeah.
Although, travels can be a little bit disrupted, and although you're going to see lots of things that have happening as a result of the earthquake, like repairs. That's how the vast majority of their population earn their money and earn their living.
Yeah, it does.
So by going there and enjoying what they have to offer as a country helps them rebuild as a country.
Yeah, and exactly. And hit the nail on the head there. Like, it doesn't need a gap. It needs people to go over there. And I know in the short term, we're obviously with some of the money that we're raising here and off the back of Chris and the Branson Foundation, whatever we can get out there. I know some other travel companies get involved as well, which is awesome. And it's essentially the more we can do, the better. And after, the kind of houses are rebuilt, things are kind of back to normal. It's going to be great then to kind of go over there and experience the country. And, there are going to be some hidden benefits over the next kind of few months. The trails are going to be quieter. If you're trekking up there with us, we got trips in October, we got trips obviously running through into next year. The trails will be a little bit quieter now. So, it would be a little bit of a hidden kind of benefit. But ultimately, the number one benefit you'll be doing is that you'll be bringing tourism yourself, and you'll be helping the area just by traveling there.
Yeah.
Which is absolutely fantastic. Here's Andy Howie. How you doing, Andy? I hope it helps the families in Morocco. Legend. No, thank you so much. I was thinking, what would be a nickname for because his surname's Howarth. I was thinking call him like Hillside Howarth or something like that.
Hillside Howarth.
Or Hillside Howie.
Hillside Howie.
Yeah, I like he belongs in the hills.
Yeah.
What do you reckon, Andy? What do you think about that? Hillside Howie. There's your nickname for today. But thanks so much, mate, for donating. It means a lot, mate.
Yeah, no, really appreciate that.
We're trying to get a good cost for the tents and the sleeping bags, from the some of the kind of providers. So yeah, it's hopefully what you donated there will be will be enough to get a tent and get over there. So thank you so much.
Yeah.
Jerry, I'm still in touch with my Evertrek guides from both the Killy and the EBC trips through social media. It's an added bonus I wasn't expecting from your trips. Yeah, great stuff, mate. And Jerry, firstly, great to hear that you connected with your guides like that and the Evertrek guides. And exactly, yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, they're out there, they're working, they're enjoying their time. It's good that you can make friends like that with the guides and the local teams as well.
That's the amazing thing, because when they are guides and they're hired to kind of get you to achieve, your goal.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if you hadn't met them in that respect, they love the mountains. They've got amazing stories to tell. Like even if they weren't hired to take you somewhere, they're still the type of people you'd want to sit down and have a beer with.
Which is a tea or something. Yeah, exactly.
Which is why everyone kind of loves to spend time with those guys. Amazing.
It's like I remember. One of our guides, Dower, actually. I mean, I know a lot of our guides have had stories like this, and sadly, this was a story off the back of another earthquake. But yeah, his because he was on the mountain at the time in 20, I think it was 14 actually. It wasn't the earthquake; it was the landslide, the Serrat collapse in the icefall, and he was there. But just his story of kind of survival, and he was pulled off the mountain, and he guides now in treks instead of climbing Everest. And just listening to his story, I mean, it kind of, I don't know, made me connect a bit more with him. Obviously, he was a top bloke. I've not seen him for a while now because I say he's not part of our kind of guiding team right now. But we're still friends. He's kind of got wonderful. I think he's set up his own little equipment store. Yeah. And it's great to kind of learn about their kind of journeys as well and connect like that. So yeah, Jerry, thanks for sharing that, mate. It means a lot.
Awesome.
Nice. So in terms of Morocco then, and we do get these questions and this was just floating on my head there around, okay, then if someone wants to take on Toubkal, whether it's the 8 day or the 4 day, who would it be for? Would you say first timers or people who have been there before, been to altitude before? Or, is it kind of one of those entry ones, or is it one that you want to do after base camp or Killy? Where do you think it sits?
Do you know what? It's one of them where I think when I first started thinking about Toubkal, when we first started offering it, in my mind, I felt like this is a great stepping stone to higher altitudes.
Yeah.
But the reason why I'm careful around saying that is because I don't like to give the impression that that means that it's going to be an easy trek.
Yeah.
Because I know people that have, done Kilimanjaro.
Yeah.
And then gone to Toubkal and said, wow, like that summit day's it's not easy, So I think in terms of altitude, it's definitely a good introduction.
Yeah.
Because if you have got an aspiration to kind of climb Kilimanjaro and then maybe a 6,000 meter peak, I think a good way to kind of get that experience is to climb a peak like Toubkal to get you above 4,000 meters. That is very achievable by most people. And you do have the option of the 4-day or the 8-day.
Yeah.
And if you're a real fit person and you think, I want the challenge and I want to get out there and get back to the summit, I'm like, but just by the way you're talking to me, 4-day.
4-day.
If you're someone who comes up me and you say, I want to do the thing, I just, I enjoy trekking, but, I'm not really competitive. I just like to kind of enjoy it and experience it. Then I would be like 8-day.
Yeah.
And I do think that, it does, but that it's one of them though, where it's not, nothing's 100% true because I know for a fact that I did EBC, Kili before I went to Toubkal and then I turned back on Toubkal.
Well, this is it. It can be a surprise, it can be tough, but if you are trying, altitude the first time, it can be a good tester.
Yeah.
But it goes with a caveat that it is sometimes a bit more physical than the Everest base camp.
That's it. Exactly. It. Yeah. You hit the nail on the head there. It is a very physical trip. But in terms of the altitude introduction, it's it can be pretty good.
A couple more shout outs as well. Richard Johnston. Rich, thank you so much, mate, for your donation.
Richie J, he's already got a nickname.
He has, but he's the one that should comment with that nickname. Because
I'm not going to label him that. I think I'm going to call him the Do Anything Yeti.
Do Anything Yeti, and he can do anything Yeti.
Yeah, and then...
but thank you so much, Richard. And then Pritesh as well. Look at that. Classic Evertrekkers on there donating.
What could I call Pritesh? Pretty Boy Patel?
Yeah, I think he'd like that.
Yeah, I think he'd like that, yeah. It's like an old school boxing nickname, that, isn't it? Like Pretty Boy Floyd. Yeah, so Pritesh, Pretty Boy Patel.
Fantastic. Well, look, we're up to almost £2,500 now, so that's absolutely fantastic.
It's amazing. Thank you so much, guys.
Yeah, it means a lot. And great to see some kind of Evertrekker veterans get involved as well. So absolutely awesome. But just to kind of flip back then to what you were talking about then around who is it for? I suppose, if you have been on a trip with us, and sometimes a lot of people think they've got to go higher to, to challenge themselves. Well, actually, if you're in the mindset that you just want another adventure, you just want another journey, you've gone to Everest Base Camp, you've gone to Kili, you've gone somewhere else, Toubkal is a good one to tick off.
Yeah,
it really is. It's a fantastic place. The food's awesome, especially Marrakesh. You might get a bit fed up of the tagines on the trek, just because in every village you're at, they love their tagines. It's like when we're in Nepal, all we have is dal bat sometimes, and you kind of get a bit fed up of it. You're like, give me a burger. But it's fuel. Obviously, culturally, because of where you are, it is
fuel.
It's fuel, isn't it?
But I've got a little tip, which I've learned after my 2 trips.
Yeah,
I'm bringing some hot sauce with me.
I got some over there.
Just that exact hot sauce I'm bringing. Just the Cholula hot sauce. It's not
spicy.
But it's not like
it's not hot.
It's not going to set you on fire the following morning.
Yeah,
you're not going to need to put toilet paper in the fridge type thing. But it just adds a little bit of heat, and I think that'll improve things for me.
Just reading Pritesh there. My friends do actually call me Pretty Boy.
There you go.
There we go.
Pritesh, Pretty
How did
Boy
you know?
Patel. Well, I could tell by his thumbnail.
Is that what it is? Is it okay? Brilliant. No, thanks very much, mate. That means a lot. I'm just going to refresh because I'm in the refreshing mode. Oh, no others yet. But
go back there a second.
Come on. What did you see
underneath Pritesh? Who's anonymous?
Oh, that's from us.
Oh, right.
It's done from us.
Okay, fine. Wow, I thought someone just put a big donation.
I know. No, that was for us. Yeah, we've put some in because we want to get some tents and stuff. We want to get those bought as soon as possible, just because of the urgency. But right, just to kind of finish off then, really, and we'll flip back to what we started with, which was why we're talking about Morocco today, because Morocco is on our minds. The kind of big thoughts for me, we want to support Morocco as much as we can. Are having a very challenging time right now. Certainly with regards to not necessarily Imlil itself, but the surrounding area, where people haven't got homes because they don't exist anymore, or they're damaged enough. It's just not safe to sleep in.
Yeah.
you know, and providing tents and sleeping bags. Which, speaking to Jamal, as Dave said, you know, he's our head of ops out there, but he's also the president of the Asni area and the Imlil Valley. So, you know, he's a well-connected man, and we know that getting them to him will be well dispersed because, you know, he was voted by the community because he's always looked after the community, especially from the trekking industry. You know, it's one of the reasons why we love working with him. He's a good man. And yeah, we know that everything that we get will be well used. You know, it won't just disappear into the ether, and, you know, your money will be well used, definitely. Obviously great that we've now got, you know, additional help from, you know, Chris Hall as well, the pilot, Captain Chris from Virgin, and also as well the Branson Foundation with regards to Richard himself, who's now getting a plane ready to actually take all the supplies over in the next 72 hours.
Thanks very much, Rich.
Yeah, cheers, mate.
I'm on first name terms now.
You're on first name terms.
Yeah, I'm Dave. He's Rich.
No, it's cool.
I mean,
yeah, if we can,
literally Rich.
You know, we can obviously get him involved. You know, he'll make more of an impact, which would be absolutely fantastic.
Amazing.
But yeah, just a couple of announcements, I suppose, before we go. I know that we've still got some spaces on the training weekend in October.
Yeah.
So wanted to check the link. If one of the guys can put the link in the comments. Anyone that does want to jump and come and visit us in Brecon Beacons, Banau Breceniog, here in Wales, we'd love to meet you. We'd love to obviously have a wonderful weekend of trekking here in Wales. There we go. There it is. Jump on. We'd love to, have a
Special
great weekend.
guests as well. So
We've
got the Altitude Centre coming in
They're coming with us, aren't they?
yeah, they're going to join us on the training weekend and do something of a presentation for you guys, talking all things altitude and a little bit about what they do and things like that. Very, very interesting. So it's a really good one to jump on. And of course, it's October in Wales. So yeah, bring your waterproofs.
Well, you never know, do you? That one weekend we had in October, it was hot. Bring your sun cream. So plan for all 4 seasons. But yeah, we'd obviously love to see you there. Also as well, it's on countdown, and I know we're talking about Morocco today, but I wanted to get this in. If you have enjoyed your journey with Evertrek over the last kind of year or so, obviously last year we won the British Travel Award for the best trekking and walking company, which was amazing. And this year we're up for the best adventure holiday company, because that award up there, that was the last of its kind apparently. So yeah, if you can,
they're actually going to make a.
I know.
Like, don't get me wrong, it's a
lovely award, but
it's quality. You can tell it's
you wanted it big and
this
sustainable.
It's weird. It means a lot. It really does mean a lot.
Yeah,
I feel like I could have made it.
It's great. That stands proudly in our office.
It does, yeah.
Because it was voted by you guys. But yeah, if you do want to vote, we are literally, if I can find the link, here we go. I'm going to bring it up on the screen. So it's bit.ly/vote for Evertrek 2023. If you can vote for us, that'll be fantastic. I know it's coming towards the end of it now, so any last votes will make a difference. Hopefully we'll get through to the final 3, and hopefully we can win this one.
Yep,
like we did last year, and the winners will be announced in November. So absolutely, fantastic. Just wanted to throw that in there, Dave, before we leave. But yeah, any final thoughts from you, mate?
No, I just want to say again, from myself, Andy, Jamal, thank you very much for all the concern you've shown the guys and families and out there that have been affected. I think now's the time, if you ever were planning on, going to Morocco, to make that happen, because it'll never be more impactful and more meaningful than it is right now.
Lovely. Perfect. Well, thank you very much, everyone. I say we'll be back next week. We will be keeping everyone updated with regards to what we raise. I mean, if I could ask you a favor as well, if you do see the link that we do post, it would be awesome if you're able to share that. That makes a difference as well, because, it's all about how many we reach, right, and who we can get involved.
Yeah.
So the more money we can get over the next kind of 48 hours, really, it means then we can go and purchase these tents and these sleeping bags, and we can obviously take them and fly them over to Morocco.
Yeah.
We're obviously trying to speak to our partners now to see where else we can get to take with us, which is fantastic. If there's anyone you do know that has certain things like this, like sleeping bags or tents that could potentially help, or help in some way, because we can, everything can help in some way. Do reach out to us. The team, whether drop us a message from the chat bot on the website, or reach out to us by email, info@evertrek.co.uk. And anything you can do or you want to get involved in, just let us know. At the end of the day, it's all about the community. You know, we love our Evertrekker community. Absolutely fantastic. You know, and if you want to get involved, we're here to get involved in. So thank you so much.
Awesome.
Yeah, we'll see you guys next week.
Take it easy, guys. Bye.
Bye.